So let me ask you, how do you get back up when something life-changing happens? Make sure you stay to the end because we're going to make sure we answer that question along with how to do your photos, how to stand out with your brand, and much more. I can't wait for this conversation. Just stay tuned. Welcome, everyone. And tonight, my guest, like I said, is going to be talking about how you get up when something painful happens to you. She is a photographer, a podcaster, producer. She's a coach. And I have interviewed her back 3 years ago. She was one of my first 100 live guest, and I'm bringing her back for part two. Her name is Gala Hemphill. But before I bring her on, my name is Shree, and I am a video marketing producer. My agency, my team, and I help law firms and medical practices and services be able to create visibility to their through social media using social media, video, podcasting, and much more. But you know what? You're here to hear more about my guest. So let me bring her up. Gala, thank you so much for being here tonight. How is it going for you?
It is going good. I cannot believe it's been almost 3 years since the last time you interviewed me. I had to ask you what day it was, but it's going great. What about you?
It's going amazing. So guys, let me tell you, I interviewed Gala back in May of 2021. So that tells you we go back. And you know what? I want to say hi to Juma all the way from Trinidad. He's a distant family member. That's what I say. But Gala, you know what? I want to ask because we're going to get to know you throughout this conversation. We're here on LinkedIn and then go to Instagram. But I want to know what do you like to do when you're not doing photography, when you're not being a mom and you're not being a coach?
Well, I'm all about me time. So when I'm not being a photographer, when I'm not being a mom, and when I am not giving someone great life advice, I am literally in my pajamas with a cup of coffee. I'm getting up early because nobody else is up. I'm in the gym, or I am really trying to go just have a really nice lunch or brunch by myself, or even a happy hour. Those are the things I enjoy doing when I am not being pulled in any other direction for someone else who needs me.
So I want to ask in the audience, because some of these comments are not showing, but I will make sure to shout you out. Just like John, he said, hello. I want to ask you, what are you guys doing when you're not doing the live streaming or you're working with clients? Drop it in the comments so we can see what it is that you like to do. Personally, I love to cook. I'm really contemplating to start putting my cooking that I do every Sunday. So you guys can see that I actually do. Like I talk about it, but it's something I love to do.
Yeah,
Now,
you definitely need to share that.
I do. I keep talking about it, and you guys need to hold me accountable, but I do want to bring it. So let me ask you something. You experienced something that's super painful. I don't wish this upon anybody. I mean, I know what my parents went through, and especially can say, when I heard it the first time, and even now, the loss of a child due to cancer. It really showed you that pain, it can be turned into a superpower. But I wanted to know, when did you start to believe that your pain is a superpower?
I will be 100% honest with you. I'm going to say in the last year. It has been almost 7 years since he passed. So it's been 7 years. And I refused to go to therapy for 2 years. I refused to talk to certain people that were trying to be close to me for a very long time at the beginning. I mean, it has taken me to really sit down and look at who I am as a person, because I always tell people, as a parent, when you lose a child, especially for me, I can only speak for me, but the woman I was when he was with me, she died too. So I have to embrace who the next person is. What is the second version of myself? Who is she? Who does she want to be? And not until about a year ago did I really feel like, okay, I do think that my purpose is to help people feel beautiful, confident, and really just embrace who they are, no matter what they've been through. And to lose a child is just, like I said, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. I think that it's something that will really break you in the beginning. It will break you. There is no getting around that. It's not something you can ignore or say, "Oh, I'm over it now. The tears are wiped." No, I mean, it's been almost 8 years now, and I still have really bad days. And so I just have to make sure that I look from within and say, okay, what do I want to do for other people? And then that brings joy to me to show that I can turn my pain into a passion that's going to help someone else.
I wanted to let that sit a little bit because that's really powerful. Like you're in pain, but you're saying, you know what, I want to help somebody else, because I've seen even in my own, when you're going through something and you're kind to somebody or you help somebody else out, it makes you see your pain a little bit differently. I'm not saying, I'm not taking away from it. It just helps you see perspective of things. And I know for my mom, in our experience, for almost 10 years, we never talked about, I won't even say 10. I want to say it was almost 20 years before we as a family started talking about my brother whenever his birthday came up.
Yeah.
Because for a very long time, nobody said anything.
So
And
it's funny, not to interrupt, but I have to speak to what you just said because I'm ADD and I'll forget. So um, it's really incredible that you say that, because I feel like that kind of happened in our family. It's not that we don't talk about our son, but we have another son and he is 1 year younger than his brother would have been. He was very young when it happened. He recalls some things, but not many things. And I think in order to keep him happy, we didn't speak much on the topic. Not until recently had he ever seen me cry over his brother, because I was afraid that it was going to break him. He was so young and innocent and a little bit aloof as to what happened that I just kind of shunned away from talking about it because he never really asked many questions. But recently we decided it's important to talk about him, to show him photos, to show him videos, as painful as that is for me. It's important that he knows who his brother was and how close they were, because they were literally 1 year and 5 days apart. And so they were best friends. I mean, they did everything together. People thought they were twins. And when you don't speak of a loved one for so long, in my opinion, you bottle up so many emotions that you want to release. And when you don't release them, you start to project different behaviors in other areas of your life. I can't say specifically what that is. It looks different for everybody. Maybe it's you start talking ugly to yourself. It's, self-loathing. It's I'm not good enough, or you don't get too close to people, or you get too clingy to people, or you shut down. It could manifest in many different ways. So if you guys have started to talk about your brother, like that's super excellent.
so here's the thing, everybody talks to each other, like we do group family chat, like, oh, happy birthday when his birthday comes around,
Mhm.
or his anniversary comes around, but
Right.
like the family is the one that really talked about it to my daughter. I never really talked about it. She came to me one day and said, I never asked you because I never understood when was the right time, but my aunts and my uncle, which are my cousins, they talk about him and they help me not forget. But
Mhm.
I want to say, when I also want to talk about how pain and how it looks, like the way you self-talk, that patterns that you have to identify and break away. It takes time. Like, I want to say in 2022, I realized some patterns of pain that I had. And then last year was the pattern of, you know, the way I talk about myself, how I talk to myself, such as I play small because I think that I'm not good enough as a video producer or as a podcaster, or I feel that I don't do enough for my clients, or even in my small, not my small, but my Facebook group. Like for me, it's the way that we talk to each other, and we and that is because of pain. I'm not
Right.
saying that I have gotten past it, but I will admit pain does play a role, because my mom is the one who lost a child, but I was the sibling. I was
Yeah.
the younger one. So I have memories with the sibling, and I know what your son is going through because I've been there. So like this conversation, if it's, I want to hear from you guys, because this is sometimes it's not an easy conversation to have, but it is one that we do definitely need to talk about. We have Jamal who says, y'all know my answer. You can catch me out in nature, but yeah, I also built a brand that way. Sliding in the mix, always good to see my good sis Shri, and then we have Chandrea and Robert. So you said something in a post recently that really that made me I really, because I know there's a lot of people that say that, and
Mhm.
it goes back to that pain piece. And you say that, am I worthy or feeling guilty to want to thrive despite the loss? Can you dive a little deeper into
Yeah.
what is working for you right now to get past those feelings? Because you're not alone feeling that.
Trust me, can you hear me okay? Because my mic came unplugged. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Um, that is probably, as a parent, that's going to be the number one thing that you will feel guilty about in the very beginning. And it doesn't even have to be a child that you lost. It could be anyone that you've lost. Your mind tells you you're supposed to be sad, and you feel like you're supposed to be like that forever, because the minute you have that little glimmer of, I'm having a great time, I feel good today, then you feel guilty. Like, have I forgotten them? Am I not sad anymore? I don't deserve to be like this. I lost someone I loved. But what helped me get past that was literally being able to look into the eyes of my son every day, because he deserves happiness. As a family, we deserve to continue to build memories and to have a good time. I mean, if I just went into this deep, dark place, would I even be here anymore? You know how depression can really be a really bad thing if you don't seek help. How does that affect my child's life if I'm not able to make new memories and have fun with him and my husband and just be a good family together? Because the best medicine for grief is to smile. It may seem so impossible, but you have to find those little glimmers of hope or pieces of joy in every day. And like, if you follow my Instagram, I'm gonna show y'all like coffee, or the way that I eat my lunch in matching glassware. Things like those things bring me joy. That's not just because, oh, it's trendy. I mean, usually I'm picking something it isn't, but those are the things that make me want to get up in the morning. So number one thing is, you have to create a routine for yourself. It does not have to be something crazy like, oh, I go to the gym every morning, I get up at 5. It doesn't have to be that. Before I started exercising, it was simply to just get out of bed, come here into my studio. The light pours in beautifully in the morning. Just not be on my phone too much. I do journal, because if you need to get feelings out, but you're not ready to talk to someone, talk to the paper. And if you need to get something out that you want no one to know, write it down and throw it away. At least you released it. So what has helped me to not feel guilty about wanting to be happy is that I know that my son would have wanted me to be happy. I've had dreams of him. There's been dreams where I'm crying because he's not here. And he says to me, why are you crying? Always crying. I'm fine. Like, I've had this dream like 2 or 3 times. And I'm not going to look too much into it, but that just tells me, if he was here, he'd be like, mommy, really? Like, stop crying. I'm good. And that gave me so much hope and strength and power to just continue to live my life. He was a fighter. He never gave up. He was the most amazing child. I mean, he was so smart. And he'd be very proud to know that we are trying to live our best lives, even though he's not with us.
Oh, he's out. But here's how I see it. They're always with us. They're
Yeah.
always with us. And I loved how you brought up your dream, because I had a coach who told me, because I was feeling really bad. I gave my dad COVID. He ended up in the hospital.
Aw.
And the thing she said was, imagine if it was reversed. If you got COVID from your daughter and she was feeling the same way that you are, what would you tell her? When you
Mhm.
see perspective in a different light, it makes you start to it helps you take a step back and say, you know what, this is true. You know what, they want me to be happy. They wouldn't want me to cry over them forever or feel guilty or feel sad. They want me to move on, which brings me to where you found joy and happiness and helping others feel beautiful and confident in themselves. So, were you always a photographer, or did you turn to that?
So as long as I can remember, there's this box of photos that I have that date back to like, I'm gonna say 98. I always had a camera in my hand. The ones that used to wind and snap and then turn into Walgreens and get those developed. I have always enjoyed taking photos. Maybe not portraits, but I enjoyed photography. I just didn't know how to utilize it in a way to, make it a business, but to just have people look inside themselves and see what I see through my lens. So to answer your question, no, I was not always a portrait photographer, but I was always taking photos. This box of photos is like, I mean, my son's like, "That's you." I mean, I think I went back to age like 13 or something in this box of pictures. And my husband realized that I had an eye for things. So we were just kind of, you know, living life and trying to figure out what can we do to bring joy to our lives. I mean, we lost our kid and it sucks. He said, "You know what? I think you should take up photography. You're really good with people. You connect well with them, and you've always had a good eye for it. I really enjoy like playing with light and different lightings and things like that." So he said, "Why don't you get into that?" So I got a mentor, got into it, paid for education, and practiced and shot for free in the beginning. And look back at my very first session, I'm like, oh my God. My work has evolved over time, and I'm proud of it. But that's how I got into it. It was to create something that we could do together, because although he's not a photographer, he's a videographer. So we kind of mesh together when it comes to working. He's doing all my behind the scenes. He's creating all my promo videos. He's doing the editing for those things. And we wanted to just do something that we could do together. And our son used to love watching us do it, but now he's almost a teenager and he doesn't care. But that's kind of how I got into it, is just taking something that I was already good at and saying, how can I bring magic to someone else through the power of photography? Photos have this ability to, when you see a photo of yourself that you took, it's not going to feel the same as if I took the photo and showed it to you, because how I see you is usually not how you see yourself. I may catch you in a really great time. I take a lot of candids in the middle of our sessions. I may just be talking to you and I'll turn the shutter off and just start snapping, and you don't even know I got these moments. You may have been laughing or something like that. And those are the photos that you can't create on your own. That's why it's important to have a photographer in your life, because they capture those moments of you that you can't really create. I mean, we can all set up a tripod, but the moment isn't there because you're trying to act for the camera, you know? And that's just, I wanted to make people happy. And I do the full thing with makeup and hair, and I'm a face coach, and I'm coaching you through posing. And it's just a whole experience. And women have come to tears when they've seen their images because they've never seen themselves like that. So
That's the same way when I help entrepreneurs, my clients, they get on camera, because the way I see it it's different from what they see.
absolutely.
So it's definitely, that's the number one thing. Well, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I
I know,
sound.
I know, I know.
But
I,
then
I
when you
don't
have
have that.
someone else taking the video showing you, of course you might find things you don't like, but then when someone else is watching, they're like, I love this.
Yep.
You look great. Or as a photographer, you really do capture the person in the way they are. So I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are like, you know what? I really want to know what are some really good poses. How do I do this? And let's start with, what are ways that we can show up on camera, at least when it comes to photography? Let's say we have our own little camera here.
Absolutely.
What are some things that we should keep in mind when we take a photo with our phone?
Well, the number one thing I tell people is that lighting is everything. So let me just show you. How do I look?
Yeah, it looks a little
You know,
dim.
lighting is everything. So if there's light outside, you're going to be near a window at some point. Go and face the window so that the light is shining on you, and then you take the photo or the video or whatever you're doing. So lighting is everything. If you're in a dim place, you're going to perform like you're in a dim mood. That's just kind of how I see it. And so I always tell people, hey, I actually taught some people how to take a really good headshot for LinkedIn if you need it real quick on their phones. It's not a professional grade, but it will suffice if you can't,
Is it like
So
this? Am I holding the phone
no,
like
you need a
this?
tripod. You just need to set it somewhere. Just have a tripod.
I
Like,
didn't
you
know
got
it.
that, set it in front of you. You're going to shoot from a little bit below the shoulders up, leave room around your head in case you need to crop it. And then get on a white wall, or you can get a piece of, the big poster board your kids use at school. They have so many different colors. Tape that on the wall. Boom. There you go. And you've got it.
Oh, they have green, so you can make your own green screen.
You
Like
can
take it
make
on
your
the
own.
wall and
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one of the things. And when it comes to video and speaking on camera, it's not something we like doing, but it's 2024, y'all. Just be yourself. Like, be yourself. When you're on camera, just be who you are. And I remember when I first started to get, when Instagram started with the whole stories and all that, because I don't think we always had stories. I'm trying to think back. I think it was all just
We had stories. So when I started in 2020, we had stories, and I was in stories in 2021. I mean, and I don't know if you were doing stories in 2020, like showing your face.
So like I've been on Instagram since 2012, 11 or 12. And if you go through the feed, the pictures were horrendous. They were blurry. But once you got to this video portion, it's like you would do the take 1,000 times because you're like, oh, I don't like the way my lip looks. Oh, I look funny. Let me do my hair. Now it's like, no, just be you. People want to see who you are. They want to see what you're doing and what your routine is and what you have to say to them. It's like having a conversation. I think the awkward part is you're literally talking to no one until when you're recording it, unless you go live. But if you're not live and you're trying to record this video, you have to just pretend like there's someone in front of you,
I want to let Doug know. He says, appreciate Gala sharing her story of loss and getting back to thriving. Powerful.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you so much, Doug. Yeah, it's been a journey, but anything I can do to try to empower someone else, I'm happy to do it.
And make sure you connect with Gala. Look, I dropped her links in the comments, and I'm going to tell you, definitely connect with her. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. So make sure you do connect with her. So I want to make sure I ask this question because there's a lot of people who are trying to do photos and they want to do brand shots, but they're not sure what they should do. So what are 3 things you should keep in mind when it comes to doing shoots or pictures for your social media?
Lighting, location, and brand identity. What do you do? Your photos should reflect that. So if you are a painter, I really need you to embrace your props, your easel, your paints, your brushes. Show people what you do. And it's okay to include those props in a branding session. In fact, when you work with me, we sit down and we have a whole entire discovery call and conversation. And I ask you different questions. What type of words do you want people to think of when they see your images? Who's your ideal client? And how do we attract that through imagery? There's questions to be asked. I don't just take someone to a location and say, you look great, and start shooting them. We need to be on the same page. What is the mission of your business, your brand? What is it you want your perception to be to other people? And so we talk about all those things. So if you're trying to create images yourself, like I said, lighting, location, and brand identity. What is it that people know you for? Show those things in your photos. Share it, you know?
Those are really good tips because so many people are always worried about what do I wear? What is my hair? And I'm like, who are you? What is your brand? That's
Yeah.
what needs to
And
come.
incorporate your brand colors. If you have colors for your brand, wear those colors, incorporate them into your images. I mean, we talk about all that. So if anyone needs help, you can work with me. I'm at 𝗀𝙠𝙧𝙧𝙧𝙧 and we talk about all those things. And we have multiple outfit changes, makeup, all of that.
Well, do you work with men, by the way? Because
Absolutely. I work with men. I sure do. Yep. And it's okay if you want a little makeup too. We don't judge.
So you guys make sure if you are, I mean, so here's the thing. I know we're in Houston, but do you travel?
I have not. I have actually. I traveled once. Most people are local, but yeah, I'm willing to travel. We can have a conversation and talk about details if you want to work with me.
So there you go. So you don't have to be in the Houston area. You can be anywhere. I highly recommend connecting with Gala. Get on that call. When I was looking for a photographer, I actually reached out to her. Look, I really do reach out in my network. I love to work with the people that I interview because guess what? They're the first ones that come to mind. When
Absolutely.
anybody asks about brand photos, I think, watch this live. I share the live. Why? Because you gave that information. Those tips are so juicy. And also, when I connected with Gayla, she was like asking me all these questions. It didn't work because of the date. She was already booked out, but trust and believe me, I would have hired you on the spot just because I have already talked to you. I already know what to expect. I've seen your work. When I interview guests, I stalk them like, white on rice. I
I'm
don't
like,
know what's the best. Yes, I do a little bit of stalking, but it's also that I can bring that to the show, have this
Absolutely.
conversation. So I want to ask, I know you're on LinkedIn, but what's the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is going to be Instagram or go to my website and fill out a contact request because I'm going to get it immediately. It may ask you a couple of questions just so I can get to know what you want a little bit better, but Instagram is the number one way. And I'm at gala.bethany. No Y, GALA.BETHANY.
And her website is in the comments. Like I have all her links. And before I forget, podcast. You have a podcast.
Yes, I do. I light up
So
a podcast. I just
tell us
started.
a little bit about this podcast because we got to know before
Okay.
we hop over to Instagram.
We will hop over there soon. It is called Courageously Her. My podcast came from a space of healing. As I told you, it has taken me forever to just say, hey, you know what? It's okay to create the life you want to live. So on that podcast, I discuss thriving, not just surviving, but making sure that you want to wake up in the morning and how you can be responsible for that joy. It's not something that's external. And I think a lot of times we think we have to go seek things and pull them into our lives to bring these pieces of joy. But there is so much you already have that that you can be thankful for, and you can embrace that. So that is on Apple and Spotify, and it's called Courageously Her.
And I do have that link also in the comments, and that way you can listen to get to know Gayla. I actually listened to a few episodes. I mean, again, I do stalk people, so we'll leave it at that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop on over to Instagram. We're asking you to come and join us, where we will continue this conversation. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's joining in. I can't believe that I started this journey 4 years ago.
I
And
know,
here
right?
we are, and I'm so excited to bring back guests to hear their story. Where are they after we spoke? Like I can actually say like years ago.
Years
And
ago, you can. You
and
can.
so I just want to say thank you, everybody. This Saturday, I do have a live, so make sure you tune in. And until the next live, have a wonderful morning or evening. And thank you, Kayla.
You're
Bye, everybody. Well, and I want to give a shout out to Chandrea. I see you there. Thanks for all the love. Bye.